Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Alana. Today I wanted to talk to you guys about doing a working holiday in Canada. If you don't already follow me, you wouldn't know that I am currently doing my second working holiday visa in Canada. My first time round was back in 2013. I decided just to take the leap and head over to Canada. I stayed with a couple of friends when I first got here, and then I found a job. So I ended up staying and meeting some incredible people, and also a boyfriend, which is why I'm back in Canada. But I kind of just wanted to share with you guys my experience and my thoughts on the working holiday process and how to do it. Hopefully it at least helps one other person out there get themselves to Canada, because I just want to be able to help those who have all those questions and queries and uncertainty about moving overseas, because it can be pretty daunting at times. Also, they've changed the process since I first did it, so I kind of just wanted to share my experience this time around with the process, and it is quite easy and how to do it and everything like that. So stay tuned and we'll get on to it. So first of all, obviously you're thinking about coming to Canada. Awesome. So applying for the visa, at the moment I think it takes about 8 weeks to process the visa. So my advice would be that you need to try and organize the visa early on. Once you get accepted for the visa, you have a year to use it. So if you're thinking about doing it, just apply for the visa anyway, so then you have it, and you have the year to get yourself to Canada, and then the visa will start itself from there. But because it does take 8 weeks, you don't want to leave it too long. Say you're thinking about coming in April, it's now March, I wouldn't even bother thinking about coming in April. You would want to have gotten it done probably in January at the start of the year, because then you'd end up paying a fortune for flights and everything else, and you'd just be rushing around. So my advice is get it done early. What happens is with the application process now, it is all online. So I'll leave the link below. I just did a blog post on all of this, and it has the links to all of the things that I'm going to be talking about as well. But I'll leave the link below for the Government of Canada website, where you need to make a profile, log on, and do your application, so to speak. But first, before doing that, because they only give you 20 days from when you start your application to finish it, to process it, then my advice would be to get a police check before you start your application process. It's just on the AFP website. It's about $40 something, and they mail it to you. So just make sure you leave enough time for that as well. I did that before I started my application process, but they didn't ask me for a driving record this time, which I thought was a bit weird, but I did it anyway. The next thing I'm going to say is get a driving record before you even start the application process. The first time I did this, you had to get all paper documents and mail it to Sydney, but this time it's a lot easier. You can just scan and upload, so it doesn't matter where you live. But if you live in Queensland, you can get your driving record easily enough from a Queensland transport store, depot, whatever they're called. That's really easy. If you live in a rural area and you don't have access to that, they can email or do it, you can just call them, they'll email it to you. If you live in Victoria, so this time around I was living in Victoria, and it takes forever. Oh my God. So you need to email, I'll leave the email below. You need to email a department at Vic Roads, and it can take it took me this time around 3 weeks to get it back. You can't get it from a Vic Roads store. I tried that as well. I called them multiple times. I sent another email again. Oh my God. So make sure you do that first. It doesn't cost you anything to do that, but it's just the process that it takes. Like, it takes forever for them to send it, and Vic Roads really needs to get onto that and just be able to do it in store. I didn't even have a Victorian license, which was the really annoying thing. So that would be my 2 things that I would recommend doing before you start the application process. So then we go into the application process. You need to make I think it's you can either log in through a Canadian bank, which makes no sense because if you haven't been to Canada, you wouldn't have one of those. But the second thing, I think it's like I can't even remember what the name of the login process is, but it's the second one under the banks option. You just make, I think it's your email, and then you just make a password, and then you pretty much just log in, fill in all your details, and you need to upload a copy of your passport, like a passport photo. For me, I didn't have any new passport photos on hand. I literally took a selfie on a plain white wall, just like with the dimensions, and uploaded that online. They accepted that. You need to upload, I can't remember if you have to upload your resume or not. I don't know why that would make sense, but I guess to see what your working background is. I can't remember. And then there was another family form that I needed to fill out. So I had to just put my parents' details. I had to put my partner's details and stuff like that. So there was just a whole heap of questions within that. That was really easy. It doesn't take very long to do. And then you just pretty much upload everything onto there. You need to upload your police check and your driving record. And then you get to the final page, and it's 250 Canadian dollars. I'm pretty sure it's 250 Canadian dollars for Australians to do the 2-year visa. I think it's $100 for the working permit and $150 for the open permit. I don't know, something like that. And so then once you pay that, that is then submitted, and you have you've submitted your visa pretty much. So that's pretty much the gist of the application process. To be honest, it really is not very hard. The only thing would be hiccup wise would be if you had some kind of criminal record or driving offense. But I've had friends who did have driving offenses and their applications got processed. It just takes a little bit longer, and you might have to submit some more stuff, but you pretty much, because now it's all online. Before, I stuffed up mine so many times the first time I did it, pretty much because I had a Queensland license, but I was living in Victoria. But pretty much, and then they kept mailing it back to me, which was so annoying. So this time, at least it is all electronic. So they just email you. So you get an email notification if they need something else from you. You get an email notification when the offer letter comes. The offer letter comes in by email. So that's pretty much your acceptance of the visa, but it's not actually the visa itself. The offer letter just means that you can come to Canada and get a working permit. That's not a working permit. So when you arrive into Canada, that's when the immigration officer will determine the working permit that you're allowed to receive, how long you can stay in Canada for on the work permit. It is a maximum of 2 years on one permit, one visa for Australia, but depending if they ask you for insurance details, anything else money-wise and stuff like that, they can determine how long you can stay. It also makes sure that you have an updated passport expiry, because if it expires in 9 months, then they'll only give you 9 months visa. Stuff like that. So just make sure that's all there. But the offer letter only gives you the right offer. It gives you the offer to work in Canada. It's not actually the visa. So just keep that in mind. I guess then once that's done, you would then want to start planning your trip here, which is the best thing ever. because because it takes 2 months to get the visa offer letter, it's kind of like a waiting game, to be honest. And then if you don't know when you want to come, at least you've got that year to kind of make up your mind when you want to arrive. With jobs and stuff like that, what I would try and do is, depending on the season you're wanting to come in, so if you want to come for the winter season, try and start applying for jobs around September, because most of the hills will open in November, December, and they will start the application process September, October-ish. So most of the if my lights go out, I'm really sorry. It's really windy outside today and the lights keep going out. Anyways, what was I saying? Oh, with jobs. So with the jobs, what you want to do, oh, sorry, my nose is like dripping like a tap for some reason. I went out earlier, now it's just won't stop. But what happens is, if you are remote, so if you're in Australia, UK, wherever you're coming from, they will most likely do a Skype interview with you. So as long as you have your visa, then you can do the Skype from wherever you're from, and then you can set up, once you get a job, if you get a job beforehand, you can then set up when you want to fly in and everything like that. Depending if you want to do some travel around first. A lot of people do traveling around Canada first if they have enough money, and then find a job on the road. That's what I did the first time, because I started to run out of money and like, oh shit, I need to get a job. But this time around I had someone to stay and stuff like that, so I didn't really worry about getting a job beforehand, but I definitely could have. I also have now got a job in Banff, so I did a Skype interview from Ontario. That was totally fine. They also do it over the phone. Most of it's via Skype though, which it makes it really easy. So for the summer intake, which is now what we're going into now, I applied for my job, maybe February. They start advertising January, February. Then I had my interview in February and got the job in February. So then I started the 10th of April. So that's kind of like a time frame where you can get like an idea of when they start kind of doing their intakes for the seasons. I mean, there's always going to be people who come and then don't like it and leave. So there's always going to be jobs going throughout the year, but it might just not be for what you want. So just kind of keep those time frames in mind. So anywhere between like August, September, October would be the winter intake, and then January, February, March would be the summer intake. So just keep that in mind when you're looking for jobs. But work-wise, pretty much on the working holiday visa, you are entitled to do any kind of job except for working in the sex trade. Sorry, ladies, or guys, whatever. Sex trade, I think teaching or like childcare and anything medical. So you would have to get separate visas for those things. I'm not sure about the sex trade, but but the other two, like working in childcare, teaching and stuff like that, or medical, then you would have to get a separate visa for that. But on the just on the WHP program, or the IEC program, International Experience Canada, that pretty much entitles you to do anything you want to. The first time I worked here, I was in Lake Louise, in the Rocky Mountains in Alberta, and I just got a job doing reception at a hotel, which I actually really enjoyed. It was kind of, I had done reception and admin and stuff before, so it's kind of on the lines of that, but then I got into the tourism aspect of things, which kind of like how I fell in love with tourism in the first place. But yeah, so you can pretty much do anything like housekeeping. This is mainly in the resorts in the Rockies, so like housekeeping, hotel, front desk. You can do what's it called, housemen, maintenance, chefs, dishwashers, serving, hostesses, just retail, ski instructors, whatever you want to do. So there's a lot of things that you can do. And there are ski instructors courses if that's something that you wanted to do. You can do a course, become a ski instructor, and then most likely you can get sponsored that way. So you can keep coming back every season if that's what you love. If you're wanting to do something that you're like doing along the lines back home, probably the biggest cities would be in that sense, like Vancouver, Toronto, Calgary, those kind of bigger cities. If you're coming from Australia and you're in like the mining industry, then probably Alberta would be the best place because they do have the oil rigs and stuff there as well, which is pretty good pay. But if not, if you're wanting to do something different, which is what I did and I absolutely loved it, then your options are pretty much endless. It just depends on where you're wanting to get settled, which brings me to my next thing is like where to settle down and what to do when you first come to Canada. You can use a working holiday company. If you're going to do that, I would recommend using the Working Holiday Club. I worked with them when I was working for Student Flights. And you can book it through Student Flights, and you can also get a really good deal on your flights because not a lot of airlines, but a few airlines flying to Canada and the US, they do either the working holiday discount on flights or student discount, or not even students, like anyone under 30 can get a discount on their flights, which works in perfect for the working holiday visa because it's under 31. So the Working Holiday Club, how they work is they have a few packages that they can help you with. If you're a first-time traveler or like first-time moving overseas and a bit unsettled and just not sure of what to do, if you know absolutely nobody here, then this would probably be the best option for you. You pay a fee to them, and they help you out with any visa, flights, accommodation, banking, your social insurance number, a phone, and stuff like that. They do have different packages. I'll link their website below for the Working Holiday Club, purely because you can do winter, summer. They also do like UK and everything like that if you want to do one after Canada. But you can do like snow ones in a snow village. You can do the city, anything like that. So they just help you with finding a job and making the process a little bit easier. And you've got a contact in Canada if you get stuck or anything like that. So it's super, super handy. But the next thing, I guess, would be if you wanted to do it yourself, it's quite easy to do. Once you get here, so you've flown over here, settled in, where to go is the question. So usually from Australia, flying in to Canada would either consist of flying direct into Vancouver or flying via LA. So it just depends on where you plan on starting your Canadian adventure. For me, the first time I came, I flew direct from from Sydney to Vancouver with Air Canada, and then I went on to Edmonton from there. That was the easiest connection for me. But now there's a lot more options. Air Canada do fly direct from Brisbane and Sydney to Vancouver. They don't have, so to speak, any discounts for anyone, youths or anything like that. And to be honest, I don't really rate them as an airline that highly. They're quite overpriced for the service that you get, and the long haul flight was horrendous for me. And since then flying within Canada, I just don't really like them that much, but you don't really have a choice. Unfortunately here there's only really two major airlines. Thanks Canada. But if you want something that you can get a good deal on, Virgin Australia fly direct from Melbourne, Sydney and Brisbane to LA. From there you can pick up with either like Delta or WestJet into Toronto, Calgary, probably Vancouver as well. I never tried for Vancouver this time, but this time around I flew where my boyfriend's from is in Ontario, so I flew with Virgin into LA and then used Delta into Detroit and then just drove across the border. But you can fly anywhere with WestJet, probably with Virgin, because they use like a code share agreement. The other airline I'd mention would be Air New Zealand as well. They fly via Auckland, obviously, but they fly into Vancouver as well. They are the best airline. Virgin are amazing as well. I do really recommend them, especially because it's direct to LA. But Air New Zealand are the best airline I've flown. I flew back with them from LA to Brisbane, and even though you have to do a stopover in Auckland, it literally is nothing. It kind of breaks it up and it's kind of nice. You get it in a better time than you would with Virgin, but their service and everything is outstanding. They also fly through either Honolulu or Houston now. They're the other ones. Oh, and LA, but San Fran as well. So they have a lot, but they would use, I think, either Air Canada or United Airlines to fly anywhere into Canada as well. But to be honest, you do get a really good discount if you can get a youth fare with them at a good price. Same with Virgin, and they're both under 30, which is awesome. And Air New Zealand have the, if you're on a working holiday visa, you can still get a youth discount. Thanks, Air New Zealand. But yeah, so they're probably the three airlines that I would probably stick with. I mean, you can go via China and Asia and whatever, but that's just so long. And even you can go through like Dubai and Abu Dhabi, but oh my God, like it's what, a 14-hour flight from Australia to Abu Dhabi, and then it's another 14 hours even just to Toronto. So stop that. I would not recommend doing that. So yeah, flying in there. So I guess it just depends on where you want it to be settled. I mean, from Vancouver, you can go to Whistler, Vancouver Island, anything like that. Calgary, you can go straight to the Rockies. And then you got Toronto on the other side. Ontario, you got Toronto in Ontario, which would kind of give you the East Coast access as well. To be honest, like in between Saskatoon and Manitoba, there's, I personally haven't been there, but I've heard that it's not, like it's kind of just flat. So they're not probably on your high to-do list, but that just kind of gives you a gist of where to fly into. I would definitely go see someone at Student Flights because you'll be able to get a really, really good deal, but also then they can kind of help you on if something goes wrong or anything like that. You can choose to do a one-way flight. They're not going to not allow you in because you do have the working holiday visa. But the first time around, I got a return flight because it worked out to be much better for me in terms of value for money, and I wasn't sure whether I'd like it or how long I wanted to stay. And I knew that if I had a return flight, even if I didn't want to come home when I had set the date to, at least then I could change it or move it around or anything like that, or I had already paid for it and I didn't have to fork out another few $1,000s to fly. So yeah, so you could do that as well. And I mean, in terms of that, a travel agent could really help you out. They could also help you out with the Working Holiday Club as well. And any accommodation or any travel plans that you want to do beforehand, so you don't have to really worry about it. I guess with where to fly into, I don't know, I'm so biased because I spent most of my time in the Rocky Mountains and I'm going back there anyway. Ontario, I will tell you right now, the taxes are higher than out west. I think BC might be the same, but it's about 13% in taxes. But it's a lot harder to find jobs in Ontario. Toronto might be a little bit different, but you are paying an arm and a leg for like rent and everything like that. It's really, really expensive in Toronto. I'm in Southern Ontario in Windsor, would not recommend coming here on a working holiday unless you know people, but it has been really tough finding a job. I've only been able to find a part-time job at the mall, which is fine, but you know, it's not something that you want to be doing on a working holiday long-term sort of thing. I do recommend going to Ontario though, because I don't know, I haven't really done Northern Ontario, but I would presume, like for me, I really want to come back in the fall and the winter and go up to like Muskoka and stuff like that, because they do have a lot of really great winter activities. But in terms of working and settling down, it can be really expensive in Ontario. Out west, it's a little bit easier in Alberta for sure, because in the national park, so Banff, Lake Louise, Jasper and stuff like that, most jobs do have some kind of access to staff accommodation, which is really, really handy for somebody who's just traveling around and doesn't want to buy like furniture and all that kind of stuff. Having staff accommodation, and it's like just comes out of your pay, and it's a lot cheaper than renting somewhere, is really, really handy. If you plan on staying long term and you know you've got a family or you're a couple or something like that, then maybe renting would be better for you. But if you're a single person, then staff accommodation is the best way to go if you can find a job with that, because you meet some great people, it's a social aspect, so cheap, and everything's included. You don't really have to buy much, which is the best part about it. BC, I've only traveled in BC, so I can't really say much about living there. I know that they have a few more taxes than Alberta. Alberta is probably one of the cheapest provinces that I've been to. They don't have like a lot of other taxes that some of the other provinces do, but it is really, really gorgeous there. You've got like around the Okanagan in the summer, there's the wineries, the lakes, the mountains, and it's really, really pretty. And then in the winter, it's obviously turns into a big ski town. Around Kelowna, you've got like Big White, Silver Star, there's Vernon, stuff like that, without having to go all the way to Vancouver. I've only stayed a bit of time in Vancouver, but I'm not too sure like what the expenses would be in terms of living and stuff like that. Whistler, I've heard, is very expensive. I've never been, purely because I know there's so many Aussies, although I do really want to go there, but you know, I don't want to go and live there. Calgary can be really expensive as well, but they usually tend to pay more for jobs there. Like it's all very oil like orientated, so you can get like a really good paying job. And I mean, you can find reasonable stuff, but usually if you want to do the whole working holiday things, the mountains are the way to go, and try and find something to staff accommodation. So I guess that's kind of like accommodation, flights, jobs. For jobs though, I'll link below the websites to check out, which I found a bit the best too. And also pretty much the best two that I've found is Indeed.ca and Kijiji. Kijiji is like the Gumtree of Australia. For those who aren't in Australia, I'm really sorry, I don't know anything else, but it's like you can find cars, jobs, real estate. It's like a buy-sell thing, so you can sell your stuff on there. You can buy stuff, so you can buy like furniture, pretty much anything you can buy, cameras, blah, 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 whatever you want to do. So that's also a really good website just in general for when you're in Canada, because you can find really good stuff for a cheap price. Just a handy tip. Sometimes it's good to like look even before you come to Canada, because like if you're looking for a car, you can contact the person. I would just be really careful buying cars and stuff through Kijiji. Make sure it's legit. Make sure you go and visit the person a couple of times, and you know, go get the car checked out yourself, just because you don't want to get stuffed over. It has happened to me. Yes, stupid. But anyways, so then I guess that's kind of like the gist of working and stuff like that. I'll probably do another video when I get back into the mountains, because I'm sure it's changed a little bit since the last time I'd been there. But in my blog post below is linked. I have also put about how to get a SIN number, which is social insurance number, the banking, and the phone, like how to get a phone and SIM card and all that kind of stuff. I don't really want to go into too much now. It's kind of boring. But the one thing I will tell you about the banking system in Canada is it's really hard to transfer money from Canada to Australia. So before leaving Canada to go back to Australia, just make sure you've got some way to transfer any money that you've got left over. I mean, you could take cash and get it swapped over or something like that, but just do your research. For me, I pretty much just had to transfer it all over to my boyfriend so I could close my account. And then he could use his credit card to transfer to my account in Australia, but otherwise it's all like wire transfers and all this kind of bullshit. So prehistoric. Canadian banking system is really bad. Also, the data plans for the phones aren't very good, but I've put that in my blog post as well. I guess that's probably where I'm going to wrap it up, because this is going to be a pretty long video as it is. Let me know if you want to see another one of these. If there's any questions that you guys have, please comment below, because I love to interact with other people. I will probably be doing some more updated videos like this, just to help people out, especially when I get to Alberta in April. So stay tuned, subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye guys.